Welcome to the Coast... Nope, one more time. Welcome to Co-Struction Inc. Nope. Why did that sound so weird coming out of my mouth?
Nope. Welcome to Co-Struction. This is where we're going to be building a world from fantasy words.
All randomly generated from a list of a whole bunch of terms we came up with when we were bored one day. Let's talk about what we did last week. Last week, our adventure, Son of the Sun.
And
our story of vampires that fed off of people's emotions to gain superpowers.
It's a 5-part graphic novel hitting stores December 2021.
I actually, I've been thinking about it way too much over the past course of this week. And I just keep thinking about how good of an anime it would be if it got done right.
Okay, so what was it? Abyss, Dismal... It wasn't Dismal, it was Void Abyss.
Yeah, Void Abyss was the main guy.
Is Dismal Abyss better?
I don't know. It's off in the hands of the publicist at this point. We've lost control. It's been ripped from our hands.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Okay,
it's already gone to print.
Past news.
It's already gone to print. We have no time to fix it up. Not only do we not have time to fix it up, it's time for us to come up with a completely new world.
Thank God.
To populate. So first we're going to come up with our 2 buzzwords.
This is really fucking hard.
So I'm going to generate 2 numbers between 1 and 59. The 2 numbers are 9 and 32. 9 and 32. Number 9 is Noir.
Oh, that's black.
And 32 is criminal. Okay, so that's
black and white.
No, I hate that. That's so cliche.
So, criminal noir?
That's too easy.
That's right.
Sometimes
that
again.
fits.
No, it's too easy.
Well, the list is spoken.
You can't make this vaporwave or anything? I mean, that's
we'll see. The list, there's still more things to roll.
Now, we have to roll 3 major events, so that's going to be 3 numbers between 1 and 137.
Great. Noir. And wait, did we... 135.
135, 44, and 108.
I already forgot.
Lists. I did too.
135, 44,
I also
108.
I didn't do the sound effects that time.
I know.
Do we like that better?
I mean, I love the sound effects.
135. 44.
And 108. You remember 108.
Okay.
44 is The Matrix.
Oh my god.
Yes. Okay. The Matrix.
Why?
Why not?
44. And then it was
108.
108. Genetic modification. 135. Flat Earth.
All right.
Just a confession. I still haven't finished The Matrix.
Ever?
I've only seen the first half of it.
Well,
what happened? Why couldn't you finish it?
The friend I was watching it fell asleep, and I was at his house, and I felt.
So you turned it off so he could sleep?
No, I left it running, but I just left.
Oh. It didn't compel you to finish?
Not entirely.
All right, and then I rolled the final number, which is for our inhabitants. This is to determine if there's anything in the world besides humans.
Humans and?
I rolled a 2, which means humanoid animals.
So, like BoJack Horseman.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is a criminal noir.
Oh man.
BoJack Horseman taking place in the Matrix with genetic modification. Also, the Earth is flat. I think
genetic modification already explains the humanoid animals.
Yes.
That works out pretty well.
So, yeah, it does all work out pretty well. But I think to start out the episode, so I'm pretty familiar with the Matrix. Linnea, have you seen the Matrix?
Yeah, definitely.
So let's have Josh do us frame by frame. Tell us what happens in the Matrix to start off the episode.
That's a beautiful.
Because the audience needs to know
Josh,
this information.
tell us about the Matrix.
The audience really probably should already know. It doesn't mean that I have to know because in theory they already know. So I'll just make wild assumptions throughout the episode and speculate randomly.
I can't even remember what happens.
Well, no, I'm just saying let's start out with Josh giving us a rundown of what happens in the Matrix.
Yeah, summarize the Matrix.
So how does it start? You know the start of it.
I really don't. So I remember like where I left off.
Okay, where did you leave off?
I left off like right like as they're about like he's about to pull the plug. What's that one guy's name? I can't remember any names.
Keanu Reeves? Or
no, yeah, Neo. He's about to pull Neo's plug, and the other guy just kind of pops back.
And then he does.
Who is the other guy? Wait, who is the other guy?
No,
there's another
not what happens.
There's another hour of Keanu Reeves just being dead on the floor. It's so graphic.
Who was the other guy?
This was really the worst case scenario as far as the roles could have gone.
I know the other guy is Morpheus.
Right, he's dead at this point.
Morpheus is dead, yeah.
Who's the chick that looks like Keanu?
Or no, they have him kidnapped. That's right.
I can't remember her name, but she is in the new like Marvel TV shows that are on Netflix.
And what role does she play typically? Where are you looking?
I don't know. I can't remember. Do you guys know they're actually making like another Matrix movie?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Okay. Anyway, this is
which is why I need to watch the first
one again.
Right?
But I think we're getting off. I think we're getting off topic a little bit. But so we got we have the criminal noir. So does that mean, do we want to throw this back? Because the Matrix is very much this kind of like grungy, present, slightly futuristic.
I got it. So the primary aspect of the Matrix that we want to pull from this is that it's an alternate reality.
Yeah.
So we got sleepers.
Or a simulated reality.
Yeah, that. In a computer. So basically...
When you think about it, the Matrix also... The Matrix, there's a big plot line in the movie that it's like, it's specifically made to be what it needs to be. Like, it's constantly changing and shifting.
Right.
But
the stakes are low because technically our major players here aren't even real. Or the reality isn't real.
Well, but the thing about the Matrix is like there are consequences. Like if you die in the Matrix, you die in real life, and like other stuff like that. Like there were things like that. I think there's a rule like that in the Matrix. But like there is this there are still stakes. It's just they're able to augment their abilities. But I kind of like the idea of maybe the Matrix we saw is more of a certain generation's Matrix. It's kind of like, do you guys see that episode of Black Mirror? Where they're like going through like the old people put themselves into the system and like So what if this is like the really old people are wanting to still live in like the 20s and stuff like that, like, so they're projecting this noir.
Okay, so what we're gonna pull from the Matrix in this scenario is old people wanting to not die. Great, their consciousness is preserved in the computer, like the Matrix. That's what we're pulling from.
This is literally that Black Mirror episode.
Isn't that the aspect that we're touching? We gotta, decide what we're taking from the Matrix.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I like that idea. Mm-hmm. We are rewriting an episode of Black Mirror right now, but we're just doing it in a different time period because the Black Mirror episode takes place in like the 70s, 80s, 90s.
It takes place in all those because it was determined by the best years of the individual's life.
That's what I'm saying. Like what we're doing is we're saying let's take it back further and do like kind of a noir, and I like
a noir period.
Like it's like the 20s, like Prohibition. It's like it's noir is like the whole black and white movies with like the slats of light coming through and the guys with the cigarettes,
Venetian blinds.
The detective,
a lot of narration.
Cigarette.
I always want to say, there's a quick side note I want to make. Venetian blinds fucking suck because every time you try to make that shit go down, half of it stays up. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's just blinds in general.
It's just blinds.
Yeah, those are Venetian
Don't bring
blinds.
Venetians into this.
It's the same thing, isn't it?
You just have a thing against blinds in general?
Fuck it. Curtains.
Yeah. Don't give the Venetians
curtains are easier, I guess.
Look at those.
The effect of Venetian blinds is pretty great. Anyway.
Anyways.
Moving on.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of lazy for us to just say that genetic modification is how they end up in the Matrix.
No, you mean genetic modification is how things end up animals?
Okay.
I think they, like when they go into the Matrix, they're like they can be like some sort of.
Can we decide on a protagonist?
So these are a bunch of old furries who want a reality where they're living as animals in the 20s.
Okay, who's our protagonist? Let's make a decision here.
Someone who hates furries.
I love that. Okay, yes.
No. We're not going to be making fun of furries this entire episode because. They're a litigious group.
They're a what?
litigious. This is probably not the right word because I think that means they sue people. But
Yeah.
but the furries don't sue people. But let's stop talking about furries specifically. I just don't want to spend an hour talking about furries personally.
You're the one who rolled a 2.
But with the humanoid animals, like I do see the thing. Maybe it's something more along the lines of, you guys. I don't know if you would know this. Did you guys?
Animorphs.
There's a telltale
Yes.
game called The Wolf Among Us.
Okay.
That's like a bunch of these anthropomorphized like fairy tales. And so there's like this one guy who's like he's a man, but he has like these characters. He's the big bad wolf, but he's disguised as a man. But like he can kind of take the form of the wolf in some ways and like other stuff like that. So I kind of like the idea of maybe it's something along the lines of it's something that can be kind of hidden or kept under wraps to a certain degree.
Okay, so to be an animorph, or I guess to be an anthropomorphic individual in this world is forbidden. Okay, bear with me. But many people are. And it is not allowed.
I'm just trying to think, like, because if the Matrix is, I know, but if the only reason I'm a little bit hesitant about that is if it's like the Matrix's job to like keep things in line. It seems weird that it would just allow people to be animals. I would say, what if instead it's something among the groups inside?
It's a virus.
Like, okay, it could be a virus.
It's a virus. The animorphs are a virus.
That's the animorph.
I'm sorry. It's before your time.
So, well, it's not. We know what animorphs are. We could do something along the lines of, okay, so maybe this animal thing has other side effects, like you slowly lose your humanity.
Ooh, I like that. I'm into that.
And so this
So if you're in it too often, then it's harder to get out of it.
Forget what it is to be human.
I almost imagine everyone's been linked up to this server, their consciousness or something like that. And the server's almost like, they got like, I imagine it's almost like nursing homes, how you can get sent to a shitty nursing home, and this is like a shitty server that's not upkept well. It's not upkept well. And so like no one is noticing that these problems in the program have started happening.
So you have old people's randomly shifting into animals? Is that the premise-ish?
Well, I don't think they're old in the simulation.
Okay.
I think that they're
I know, yeah, okay.
at the prime of their life.
In this noir world.
In this black and white world.
So to create the other life in the simulation, some people have to be animals.
Some people end up animals because there's a virus.
Well, because I think it could make animals just to like AI animals. Like if it needed, I think it's something more like.
Can you bring that back up? I need to see the keywords again. Okay, our keyword. Oh man.
Flat Earth is also part of this that I don't.
I can't wait.
Flat Earth is the other thing, and let's touch lastly. Because I think also the criminal and noir part. So I think with the criminal, I think someone has to be responsible for this.
Okay, so our main character is a criminal. Our main character is a criminal.
He's a criminal. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Right? Our main character, our protagonist, is a criminal. What makes him a criminal? Let's say that he's desperately trying to rid the system of the virus that makes people animals sometimes, okay? Or the ability of anthropomorphology.
How does that make him a criminal?
Bear with me. I'm not done explaining, okay?
Yeah. But
the government doesn't understand that's what he's trying to do. They just think that he's hacking deep into the space at which he doesn't have jurisdiction for.
So what's causing this virus?
We don't know. Let's decide. Something to do with the flat Earth.
I kind of like the idea, and maybe, I don't know, maybe this is like pessimistic or like even gross thinking, but like people in these simulations, like they get to do what they want, and I imagine there'd still be like people who are like messed up and like have bad urges. So almost like someone who's like testing on animals or something like that.
Ooh.
Like it's like a real jerko.
And people get stuck as animals, and they inadvertently end up getting tested on.
Yeah, and he accidentally, like through his weird testing and his weird stuff he does, he does combine the consciousness of a person and an animal, and then like he finds out it can be transferred through like, it's like rabies almost, it can be transferred through bites or something like that. And so that's how it spreads further, but he can also specifically take people and combine them. So he has like these henchmen who he specifically crafted, and maybe he even has a way to like control it so he can keep them from going completely feral. And so he can have like these henchmen that's, like one's like part gorilla. And I think
I want a falcon.
Part fox.
Yeah, he has one guy who is like has grown wings and stuff like that. Like I think it is it starts out with like little behavioral changes, but the farther in you go, you like change into more of the animal the more you
go.
go.
So we're basically looking at a digital world, right, where some people are part animal because they can't change back.
Can I actually...
This person's experimenting with people because they're in, like, deep sleep.
Can I actually tweak it a little bit?
Yes.
I have a slightly different idea. What if this is this guy is almost, it's more of like a kind of like a eugenics thing. He's like, we can reach a better form. And that's what he's doing in the simulation. Okay. And he's saying, if we combine ourselves with the animals, we can supplement what makes humanity
better
weak.
Sight from the falcon and better hearing from the wolf.
Yeah.
So do we have...
wings from the falcon.
From the falcon. And so do we have individuals that are multiple animals and also human?
I think that's the thing is like he's literally tweaking their genetic code. Mm-hmm. Get it?
No.
Because it's like code in like the Matrix.
Okay.
You got it? But you got it?
She got it.
He's tweaking them and doing this stuff, but it's also starting to affect their
behavior.
The criminal guy who's like, maybe he's not a criminal, maybe he's a private investigator, because that's your classic noir protagonist. He's finding out that these people who have started doing this, because maybe there's even a split in society between these people who want to do it and these people who are like, no, we want to do this. He's finding they're losing their humanity and they're easily controlled because they're animals.
That's our criminal, is the guy who kind of started this and is pushing for it, and then our film noir, our noir comes from
is
our
a private.
protagonist
So we have a
investigator.
Private investigator. Hello, semantics.
Yeah.
And then we have our villain, who is a geneticist, and we have a group of people, the society, that is like, pro mixing and then pro not mixing.
Man, you know what I'm kind of digging on also? Because I just had the idea with the noir. Just because this guy is living in a noir universe doesn't mean everybody does. Like, no, hear me out. Like, he could be this black and white detective who's this older man who's been put in the system, but there could be people from all different, like, you could have all different time periods together in this simulation.
Okay, what was his life outside of the simulation?
I think maybe he was a cop.
Okay.
But just like a beat cop,
Yeah.
And he had like these fantasies, like he always fantasized of being this like private detective, but he never really broke into that.
Right. And so he gets to in this new world.
Yeah.
The Matrix.
And so maybe
this is a highly adaptable simulation that people get to pick and choose that somehow coincides.
Right.
Yeah, and it's something like this animal thing is presented as like this way to like change your avatar almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But then you find out later on that it maybe okay, so maybe we switch it up to be more like a Ready Player One kind of situation, because the Matrix is more like that. The code words are not like stuff we have to follow that idea exactly. It's like kind of like, sorry, the buzzwords or major events. Okay. It's like we
our impetus.
Like by the Matrix, when I put that on there, I wasn't trying to think like, okay, it's literally the Matrix. Obviously, it's just supposed to be kind of the idea of simulated reality.
Okay, yeah.
And so like the idea of this. I didn't see Ready Player One.
Me neither.
But like I know there's like the scene in that with like all the different avatars running next to each other and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean it's more
is,
like a people like pay to like go do different little cosmetic things.
Once you enter this alternate world where there's a virus, animal virus, whatever, how easily can you exit, or is it just a no exit situation?
That's the thing. I think we need to decide if it's like you're trapped in there, or if it's like a helmet you can take on and off. Or
vote. Ooh, it's like a helmet taken on and off is kind of, it adds an interesting dynamic because you kind of weave in his real life and then slipping back and forth between false reality and reality.
Yeah.
But then a helmet not being taken off is sort of like, I have to fucking make this work, I guess. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think once you go in, you're in.
Okay.
And I think that's why the virus is such a huge deal.
Yeah.
Well, here's my little twist for how we can maybe add stakes to if it is a helmet you can take on and off. Maybe that's the thing is this specific virus that makes you have these animal qualities. Mm-hmm. People, when they take off the helmet, they find that they are still having these animalistic tendencies.
Okay.
And since he's a beat cop, he's investigating some of these crimes that are happening because people are
basically acting like the animals at which they have chosen to take characteristics on of.
Yeah, or like a guy jumps off a roof, he commits suicide, and it turns out he's trying to fly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And go.
Almost like a Sword Art Online kind of vibe.
So the issue is that in reality, the consequences of this alternate reality is that we have people who are, again, taking on characteristics of animals, and they're like, oh, yeah, cool. And then it's seeping into with a virus in the brain.
Yeah, and so since...
biological virus.
It's presented as just something that can change how the simulation works, how this virtual world is functioning, but...
It's also changing the way the user's brains work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like, so if we're kind of keeping with like you die in the simulation, you die in real life, and so like, if you like had like the characteristics or abilities of a falcon or something, is there a consequence to that? Like, what's the drawback?
I think that kind of how I'm imagining this now is because we do need to find that balance.
Falcons mate.
What on earth are you talking about?
I was thinking more like a lifespan kind of thing, like you lose like a certain amount of your life, and like the person who's behind all this originally realized that like there's only a certain amount of space in the simulation, flat Earth.
Yeah.
And so in order to accommodate
that, it's like they're on this big disc almost,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is like literally an end to the simulation.
So we actually get to explain away the flat Earth that easily.
Yeah. In order to accommodate for the amount of space they've got, some people need to die off a little quicker. And so, like, his intentions behind letting people have these qualities that are going to die off.
There's not enough RAM, so he turns people into rams.
Ooh, and they become discs.
That makes sense. They just run off the Earth. They just problem solve.
Your brain power is
sheep.
now just RAM.
Sheep.
But
extra 8 gigs.
Because I think maybe it is something like because I'm trying to think if this is just like a game or something, then as soon as things start going bad, people would just stop wearing it. But maybe it is something. I'm almost thinking.
I feel like it's something you get addicted to.
Well, yeah, not only that, but like think about it. Like, how dangerous are cars?
Very.
But we still get in and we still drive around in them, and like even when people get in car crashes and we see that, you don't even really register it. And I think this is kind of like this virtual reality is just like how everything is handled now.
Yeah, it has its consequences, but it's like, well, fuck, this is easier. This is more pleasant.
Even false advertising, like something like that, or like really hype up what this is, and because you can't come out of it, no one knows what it's really like.
And plenty of people, I think.
Then.
And I think also, like, you gotta think people probably make their livelihood and stuff working in this virtual reality. Like, there are jobs and stuff that you can actually have in this game. Or in this simulation.
Right.
So it started out as something people would do, like, they go in, like, retirement, basically, but, like, people start going into it earlier and earlier.
Yeah. So, like, normal people, like, younger people, like, everybody.
Yeah. Honestly, at this point, I'm kind of moving a little bit past, like, trying to make it just retirement stuff.
Oh, okay.
But
that's where it began.
But I like the idea of our main guy being retired.
Yes.
And, like, but he has to be a cop still.
Maybe he waited way longer than most people would.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's one of those
maybe his son's a cop.
He didn't trust it.
Oh, maybe his son's a cop. His son's a cop, and his son visits him in the home and is talking about these cases, and him working as the private investigator. He's literally like a private investigator who, like, when someone steals your identity or something like that, he goes and tracks them down online. Like, it's like he literally.
So he has a son.
Well,
Okay, what I'm thinking is like, okay, this guy who's like, I don't trust this thing that all these young folks are doing, and then he starts getting really onto age, and he can't do all that he used to be able to do, and he likes to be a physical person because he's a doer. So he joins the virtual reality, he jumps in, and he's like, oh, I feel good again, like, oh, I'm so strong, whatever. And then, he's like doing these things, he's like, there's something off about this. And so he discovers that there's something off about this because the anamorphic qualities are getting reflected back into reality. And so he jumps in and out of this reality and that reality, and he's trying to discover what is wrong, and it is a virus.
Yes.
How can he jump in and out?
So in this scenario, if he can jump in and out, then we're working with the helmet on off. Now, if we are working with the helmet on always, then that doesn't work.
Because I do kind of like the idea of us not always being of him coming in and out of the simulation. Mm-hmm. And so I think it is something along the lines of he's retired as a cop. Mm-hmm. His son followed in his footsteps. His son's still a cop, but he's retired more or less. Mm-hmm. He's either living at home and his son like gives it to him as a gift. Like, here you go, this will help you be active again. Like he maybe finally retired because he got shot or something like that. He's been injured severely, mm-hmm. and he literally can't work anymore.
Arthritis, fuck it.
Yeah. So he goes online, he starts working as a private detective, and as time passes, like he gets more and more into the simulation. Mm-hmm. And this new fad of like them being able to augment, because before it was like you could only really control a human avatar. And you could like put on different clothes and like other stuff, but it always had to be you because it's like a continuation of your brain. This one guy says he's found a way to augment you,
right,
to allow you to have animal characteristics
in the game, and then the issue is that it's getting translated to reality, and so he has to struggle through his physical incapabilities when he is in real life trying to investigate, like, that this person jumped off a roof thinking they could fly, right, and he's just kind of like trying so it's an interesting struggle, right? Like this old man really, really trying, right? At least when he's in the real world to investigate these things, and slow down, just like slow down, right? But he's like, no, but listen, there's a problem.
Yeah, and that's what I'm sorry. No, you go. I've said a lot.
He starts to think like his physical capabilities in real life are better than they actually are, and so he starts overestimating what he can do as he gets more into the simulation.
Like he's doing like the old like Noir punch in like the simulation, and then he tries to punch a guy in real life,
and it doesn't.
It's like a pound, like a.
It's like, dude, you're 75. Like, take a rest, old man.
Yeah. And I think also how he can still have his connection to the criminal system is his son is a cop. And his son is the one who actually brings to his attention, like, there's this thing that happened, this guy, or maybe it's like one of the old man's friends, like an old friend of his who he met in the simulation, and he's like, you heard your friend, this weird thing happened, he jumped off a building or something like that. He knew his friend was
so
he was...
Henry in a while.
What if it's his son? What if his son jumps off a building?
That would be fun.
They like make it super personal.
Yeah.
Oh, so his son is one of the people who gets the animal change.
He gets affected.
Yeah, I like that.
He's acting more aggressive and stuff like that. He's
like into tigers and falcons,
Yeah, and then he finds in real life, or maybe the son like kills someone or something, and it's almost like he has to kind of not prove he's innocent, but like
explain why he isn't completely
figure
responsible.
it out.
Yeah, and then also see if there's a way to fix this degenerative brain thing that's going on, because maybe it is, maybe there is like a cure for it, and so he's stumbling.
Which is to rid the system of the virus.
Yeah, and like I love this weird like traveling through the centuries with all these anthropomorphized animals. Like, I imagine it's very almost like Spider-Verse-y, like how like there's all the different art styles and all the different things like that. And like he's always in black and white, but he's in this very colorful world. Like,
that sounds color correction fun.
Yeah, and like all this other stuff, like where it's going through this as he's tracking down, the head of this. He's trying to find the head of this company and get him to like find proof of what he's doing, and then in reality also going into the real world and trying to find proof there as well.
And just like the natural hindrance, and that's what makes it kind of relatable, is like his natural hindrances in reality, being an old person.
Mm-hmm. So I think we've kind of hit this nail on the head pretty early on. Like, I think we've found our general idea.
Right. Now let's make this story juicier. We need a love interest. I know. Not a love interest, but a story behind how the sun was made. Because I think that...
what's the first story?
Yeah.
Where's mom?
Yeah, where's mom? Exactly.
Huh.
So mom is a flat earther. In real life and in the simulation.
Well,
I mean, so they're divorced, or are they together? Like, what are you saying?
Well, okay, so he lost his son. That's what's happened here. He jumped off a building because he thought he was an animal, right? We have that loss. Now let's give him another loss because that hurts.
So do you want a happy marriage while the son's alive, and then when the son dies,
let's go with that.
It's over.
Yeah, let's go with that. So he loses them both in the course of his lifetime. You know what I mean?
I think it makes more sense for the wife to already be dead and then the son to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I thought you were saying...
I was saying, and then maybe like in the course of like when he starts the investigation, something happens to her.
No, so the mom died long ago before the story even began, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels kind of weird to kill her off after.
Yeah, no, she died long ago, and that's, like kind of what makes maybe the son and the father's relationship a little tense but still loving, right? Because, like he wasn't a mom. Like, he could only be a dad. And so she died, I know. She died she was a researcher and a program researcher.
I could see her working in programming. Like that.
I want her to be the individual that was in the main team that made this server in the first place.
I think that's too much.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that
a lot.
it gets a little bit of like what I refer to as Skywalker syndrome, where everything revolves around the characters. Like it seems like every important event revolves around the people
involved.
Yeah. And I think it's a bit much to be like this entire simulation is because of your wife.
Well, not because the wife,
I think he needs
she
to be,
knows things that she's gone. She knew things, and that's what I think would be interesting. Is she
but what
knew
would
things.
she know?
Well, what are some of the jobs in this
like server upkeep,
virtual reality?
Yeah. Server upkeep, like who's...
Well, I mean, I think there are people outside, but I think the actual jobs in virtual reality would be more like running virtual stores or like...
but who's running this, who's maintaining the servers? Is it a government or is it a private company?
I think it's the guy involved in these genetic modifications. Like, he's part of this company that runs the server.
So it's a
You'd have
company.
to have access somehow, yeah.
Okay.
What's the name of the company?
Ooh, Invertron.
Were you trying to do something on a flat Earth?
No.
Okay.
I was just trying. I don't know. I just thought it'd be interesting.
Invertron is not the worst thing that's ever come out of my mouth.
Invertron, it just makes me feel like everything should be upside down.
Okay, you're right. That's probably why I said it.
What if their company was called Disc?
Disc.
Sans.
Because the city's a big disc.
Yeah, it's all the whole simulation's on a giant flat disc.
Hold on. Something to do with the word elliptical. Make it work. We love the elliptical.
Just picturing it as an exercise machine.
Names are hard, man.
Oh, it's right there.
Cloud9.
I mean, a little on the nose, but it works. It works. On the nose isn't right there, but.
What's the name of that cloud? There's Cumulus.
Nimbus.
Nimbus. Okay, so let's work with Nimbus.
Picante.
And
I like Nimbus.
Yeah. Okay. We can.
Picante. All right. Nimbus Picante.
Nimbus 9.
That's the name. That's the name of the corporation. Nimbus Picante.
Nimbus is not bad, actually.
Nimbus.
I like Nimbus a lot.
Okay. Cool. So the company's name is Nimbus.
I also really like the idea of the main guy combining himself with a bird just so we can get that sweet, sweet Icarus imagery.
Yes!
He flew too close to the sun.
Yes! Oh, and Nimbus fits
too close to
perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So we got the sun that was all into falconry and a company named Nimbus. And
Falconry and tigers.
Falconry and tigers.
So wait, why does... I don't know if the sun can be a falcon, because why would a falcon commit a crime?
Ooh, let's make it make
Wait,
sense.
why is the son a criminal?
Because I thought that's why the father was trying to find out what was going on
I
to
thought it's
prove his son was
because
innocent.
The son was like one of the people who like jumped off a bridge.
I guess that's fair. It could
Or
be.
It should be
off the
both.
roof.
So let's say he attacked somebody and ended up jumping off a roof. So it was kind of a joint event.
I don't think you need both. I think it could be something maybe like he jumps off a roof and he's in a critical state and he comes to, but he's not coherent anymore. He's literally like a bird. Like he's freaking out.
Yeah. So the dad tries to figure out what's going on and then eventually just follows the same path as the son and takes on the same power.
From figuring it out? Hold on. So it's like, hold on.
Nimbus would not want him to know what's going on.
So Nimbus, as a corporation, financially driven, is not like they know. Nimbus knows they have a virus. They know they have an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's sort of like they're trying to figure it out, and they don't want any external sources figuring it out because they don't want to lose users.
Yeah.
Because if they lose users, they lose money. So he's still trying to figure it out, and then he gets visited by, I guess, Nimbus agents, right? And they make it harder in his real life as an old man, and then also in the game as well.
Well, I feel like they don't do anything in the game. They let him continue on in the game because other users would notice, like, hey, something weird's happening with this.
Because I almost think
they
that maybe
wouldn't want to disrupt anything.
Maybe Nimbus doesn't know about this specific case. Like I think because as soon as they know about him, they could make his life so hard in this simulation. Because like.
But if they made his life hard in the simulation, their concern is, it being because everybody's life is so easy breezy in the simulation, right? That if his life is all of a sudden made hard, everybody would be like, why the fuck is he tripping in a gutter?
But they could just like block his access. Like, or so I think it's. I also think
throw him off the side of the earth.
Maybe it is something along the lines. He does like escape, and he has to get a hacker who can like get him like a VPN and other stuff like this.
Okay.
Get him back on
And
the
that's
earth.
his love interest.
Oh, fuck. His secondary love interest.
No, because I don't like that actually. But I do like, because I think one thing you definitely can play with is the difference between people's avatars. And I think his is very true to himself. Like, it is just a younger version of himself.
Right.
But like, he meets all these
Noir,
characters.
black and white.
Yeah.
But the other people he
Dragons.
meets are like, you know, they have like, you know, they're very different than they are in real life. And it's one thing, like, he meets this like really shady, like tough looking hacker. And it's like this 12-year-old kid that,
Yes.
that is helping him like.
It's just amazing on the computer.
Yeah.
It's just so amazing.
But yeah, so besides, so we got this character. We have his hacking friend who also helps him because he starts looking into it, and that's when Nimbus does step in,
Right.
and this other, and you know, basically figure this out, and maybe Nimbus is also developed off of this like brain research kind of
Neuroscience shit.
Yeah. And
it
so,
has to be.
and so, since this is kind of like they find it's a degenerative brain thing with this guy in the hospital, Nimbus actually steps in, and it seems like these really good people because they're like, "We're going to take on your case for free," like all this other stuff. And at first, he's very grateful to them, and then as he looks into it more, he starts finding something's wrong.
And they're constantly trying to cover up the fact that they can't control a virus that they don't understand.
Yes.
They don't help him. They're just trying to
Like they're trying
bury
to
the evidence per se.
Yeah.
My thing is, if the end of this is him trying to find a way to cure his son,
That's the goal.
then if they have a cure for the kid,
But they don't because the virus is unknown.
so the father can't save his son.
Yet. He needs to figure out where the virus is coming from. And Nimbus doesn't necessarily want him investigating it because it's bad press potentially.
But I'm saying if we have, I think it has to be something more like maybe even Nimbus doesn't really know, like the overall company doesn't know what's going on because this one guy is hiding it because he wants to genetically modify
Right,
people.
so we have an
Certainly.
extra villain, right? That is this researcher that has input the virus into the system that Nimbus can't see and that he's catching on to, the father.
The private eye usually gives detective skills, kind of pieces together cases they keep popping
Right.
up everywhere.
Yeah.
But so here's my thing. Sorry, another thing. Why does our villain do this?
Well.
Because there's the flat Earth. There's only so much space to sort of get rid of people quicker.
I got you, and he can't get more funding or whatever to increase how big it is. So he's like killing people
Well,
off.
Nimbus owns the disk space. The amount of land that is existing. I mean, in my head, the researcher that wants to understand... Oh, I got it. He wants to fully understand the link between a virtual reality and a reality wrap. Like, reality wrap. Blech. You know that word twice.
Virtual reality and physical reality.
Right, exactly. And so he's sitting there like, how much can I change a person's mind in this world to influence real life? And then, we need an impetus for the villain. What did he lose? And why is he doing this? You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I have another idea though for what could be driving him.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So he's in charge of this program, right? Maybe that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
And I was thinking that maybe what he's trying to do is this animal upgrade thing is free.
Okay.
But he wants to make it more. This is like it's a very coveted thing to get these spots in the simulator. Like it's gotten to the point where it is full. There's no more space.
There's a waiting list at this point.
And he's tired of all these like cheap people getting in. So he wants to get these people who aren't paying out of the program.
Okay, so capitalistic drive.
Yeah, so that he can have more of his rich clients and stuff. But no, this is nothing.
Okay, so I see what you're saying.
Sort of
I'm a cruise.
injecting the virus into the lower class, trying to get rid of them.
Yes. Yes, basically it's 100% capitalism.
Yeah.
Now, what if we made him a little bit more dynamic than that?
Yeah, that's the only thing. It's too comically evil.
So He's a dude.
Nothing funny about capitalism. I'm so sorry.
He wants to.
Hey kids, there's nothing funny about capitalism.
Because we all need to purchase toilet paper. Anyways. Nothing funny.
Absolutely nothing.
That being said, so he got this dude who's trying to. I mean, I think that there needs to be an intellectual level to it. He is literally changing people's brains in this fake reality and the real reality, okay?
Yeah.
And he's doing this before he lost it. Brace yourself for John Wick.
He lost his dog.
Lost his dog?
But not his dog.
Goldfish.
He lost his god.
Cockatoo. I'm sorry, no.
One more time. Try that again. Let's try that again.
Maybe there is.
Lost his cat.
Because it's like, are dope.
It makes sense.
It
makes sense in the simulation because it augments their body and makes them stronger and better and all this other stuff.
I know I had a better thought there. Continue talking though. Hold on.
But maybe his thought is that he could. Maybe he does. He could reverse this, or he could do all this other stuff. But if he did, he wouldn't be able to test it any further. Like, he needs to monitor these people in these conditions so he can get more information, so he can make it better and make it work.
So my question is, what is the nature of consciousness in this world that we are building right now? Because I feel like he needs to be wanting to bring something back that he lost. And it has to do with something with animals. Bear with me, and immortality. And tortoises that live forever. Now. Bear with me here. We can make this work. I know. Don't even sigh like that. Because I feel like he needs a really emotional motive to do all this harm.
I'm trying to think.
No.
What does he need to have lost? Why does he need to have lost something?
I suppose because he's doing so many really horrific things. He's killing people.
I think it's.
I think maybe he just really, really wants to know how far he can go with this.
Okay.
And like seeing how much you can augment someone's brain inside the VR before it like melts their brain in reality.
And maybe
he's really. I think maybe he's really old as well. He doesn't have much longer left.
Right.
He's about to be like retired, forced to retire and stuff like this.
And why wouldn't he just build himself a fucking palace in his own, world and just live out the rest of his consciousness and
he has everything else. This is the last thing that he wants.
Or maybe he legitimately has a degenerative brain disease that he's been keeping under wraps, and so he is losing touch with. Like, he really doesn't even understand what he's doing and why it's so wrong, because that part of his brain is like died.
So our villain is literally crazy.
Yeah, he's going crazy, but he's trying to hide it. And this program not only is a way for him to like keep testing out his weird scientific things, but he uses it to target people who are discovering that he's losing it. Like a reporter who is like
he's
doing
desperately trying to conceal that he is going crazy, and that is the nature of our villain. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. Thought you had thought.
It did. It's fine.
It's gone.
It's all right.
No, because I do like that, because it's like there's something that's so kind of like sad about that too.
Yeah.
That he feels forced to do these things because like everything I've worked toward is gone. Like, it's that, I think it's the whole thing along the lines of like, if it turns out I'm crazy, my work won't be respected anymore. Like,
so
it'll be completely discredited.
Yeah.
So there's an ego drive here. Now, we have a character with an ego drive and a lack of family. So
what inventions sort of founded Nimbus?
Basically,
was it the whole VR? Like, how did this get its start?
Neurointegration.
It was the cloud that Goku rides on.
Neurointegration, the ability to take someone's consciousness, right? Let their body subsist passively. Now, what happens if your body in real life is done? Can you take your consciousness from that body and put it into the system?
I think the physical component of it's necessary, because like I feel like if we're doing a helmet on, helmet off kind of situation here, then you have to have some physical body.
But maybe that is the case. If you are in a coma, your consciousness technically can like still use the system.
Right.
Like, that's one way. Like, that's the prime medical use was trying to find a way to communicate with people in comas, and they found a way to like.
Yeah, this is what I was getting at with how did Nimbus start?
That's
and maybe he even at one point sneaks his son out because his son is in this weird coma kind of thing. Like, later on,
to somebody else's body. That's fun.
Well, not into someone else's body, but he takes the body and hooks up to the simulation, and he's able to kind of communicate with his son that way, because his son has gone almost brain dead. And
can we transfer consciousness?
So I was gonna say, yeah. What if the father was about to die and like realizing he didn't have enough time to cure his son, tried to transfer his consciousness into another body, and that's why that part of his brain is starting to deteriorate because he successfully did it, but at that cost.
And because it is somebody else's brain with all of their own memories and all of their own wiring, right?
Or maybe or something similar. Maybe this main guy has two consciousnesses in his brain and it's destroying it.
Ooh.
Yeah. The other
he's literally
the old
the
consciousness just like taking. It's like it's not.
So is it the
functioning,
son,
but it's taking over.
Is it
his
the
brain.
son and the dad in one brain? Is that what we're saying, or what are we? Oh no! We're saying a totally different person.
We're talking about the villain. Maybe the villain, like that's his degeneration, is because he has both his mind and the mind of like his wife, and it's almost like
there's the wife.
No, wait.
No.
The villain has his brain, and he also has the brain of the dad's son. And that's why he became the villain.
How do they know each other?
Yes.
Okay, bear with me. So,
and how did the son? Because like I think he has to be going crazy before we lose the son, because the son has to be involved in his schemes.
Okay, recap. Do a quick summary.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, here's the timeline of events. Way before we ever meet our protagonist, the bad guy, his wife, is dying. Mm-hmm. He's the head of this research that is in this brain altering. Chewie! Shh. The main villain, he works in this company that is able to delve into people's consciousness with this machine,
right? And
kind of directly transfer, like literally turn it into data and all this other stuff. But it needs the living body to support it, otherwise it deteriorates.
Right.
So in desperation, there's not enough time. He doesn't get it cleared. He downloads his wife into himself. However, his body cannot handle both of the consciousness, so it starts deteriorating. But at the same time, he's trying to protect the secret because he's afraid they will do something to take her away from him.
Okay.
If they find out.
Right.
And so all of this is him trying to hide his unethical research and how he did this thing to download his wife into himself, but he's going crazy at the same time, and she's like constantly talking to him like, I've been thinking in our tiny little break, and I have a few changes.
Go.
Okay, me too. Great, I'm glad.
Okay,
all right, you first.
Yo.
What if it's not someone completely different? It's not his wife. It's not his son. Mm-hmm. It's his twin brother.
Oh God.
Hear me out. The only reason it works, the only reason they're able to share is because their genetics are so similar that they were able to share. That's one of the things. You can't download the information to a new body because the genetics mess it up. And so he's researching altering the genetics and still being able to include the data. Then that's why it's like shifting people into animals and stuff like that.
So that technology that he used to combine himself with his brother is kind of what Nimbus is based off of, but it's also why you can't use Nimbus to transfer consciousness to someone else's body. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it's not perfect because even with this, he's degenerating, he's going crazy. Maybe he doesn't even really realize it. But like, and it's also like his brother's almost like this schizophrenic other side because his brother's desperate. Like his brother's like, if we fail, I'm gonna fade away.
Right.
And so we gotta keep going. And maybe the main guy is almost a little bit hesitant about it. Like he doesn't like the fact that he's doing these terrible things, but he's saving his brother, like his only family left in the world.
So how does he know that that's the case? How does our main guy know? How does our protagonist know that that's his situation?
I mean, that's all his investigation.
Like, so he's gotten to that point.
Yeah, he eventually all the way back to this, like before the start of Nimbus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when were they combined?
I think their combination and then like his further research to try and figure out, okay, maybe either how he can get his brother out and into another body or something like that is kind of what starts Nimbus. And then as he research it, develops it, people are like, okay, this is what we can use this technology for. Mm-hmm. And then our Matrix-like society is created.
Slight change of that. Maybe I think the two brothers are working together. They're both scientists.
Okay.
And so it's like it's their life's work is this brain stuff, and that's why they end up using it to save. So like I think the company's already kind of going, and then he starts to like his health starts fading. He has cancer or something like that. And right before he dies, they transfer the consciousness. He's declared dead. All this other stuff, but the company doesn't know that they're now inhabiting the same body.
Okay.
And so
the almost twin brother is now in our primary villain.
Yes.
Okay.
And all this other stuff is already going on. Like the company's still running like normal, but it isn't until after they combine that they say, maybe even a little bit down the line, they're combined and they at first think, we did it, we're safe, like we figured it out. Our genetics are close enough, we were able to make this work. But then they find out that their minds are degenerating. They can't share. Like one of the guys finds he has a degenerative brain disease, and so now they're like, oh shit, we need to figure.
It'd be super annoying to share your fucking conscience.
Yeah, but I think it's like even the higher stakes are they find out that their brain is literally getting destroyed, and the longer that they inhabit the same brain, the worse it's going to get.
So he has a timeline. He has a
Yeah.
And so he starts rushing the research, and to do that, he starts needing to test on people in the game. He has to skip to human trials.
Right.
And part of it is with this altering of the genetics and how he frames it. He's like, this is how we'll frame it, with this animal mutation. And that people will line up to get this.
Right.
And then we will be able to take data on how it...
But what he's really trying to do is find a way to put his brother's consciousness into something else.
Correct.
Anything else.
Anything else.
Yeah. Something about work.
Anything else.
Just because otherwise, like, they'll both deteriorate to nothing.
Right. And so he's trying to create... Oh, okay, so here's the next step here.
So does he have to copy his brother?
I think that what he needs to do, right, is create a body that is not of a consciousness in a kind of vial, whatever big human-sized vial, right? Creating bodies.
Can I make a slight change?
Absolutely.
Maybe so this change of the genetics, you change them to animals, and then maybe it doesn't happen to everyone in the real world, but it happens to certain people. And the reason why is only certain people this actually works on, like his genetic virus or whatever it is. And by knowing he can change them in that form, he knows he could further change them to fit the requirements for his brother to go into them.
And so then he's pulling data from people who are jumping off of buildings because they have a genetic code that is viable for reception to a new consciousness.
And that's why they take... And that's why...
That's not viable?
Obviously, it wouldn't be stable, otherwise why would they jump off the building?
Well, I mean, the point is that they're pliable.
Like, they could be changed, but obviously, like, there's some kinks because they weren't stable.
I mean, there's a lot of issues, right?
Yeah,
But he can get data off of them. Like,
for sure, yeah.
Like, what genetics are at play that allow them to be pliable in reality, which he needs.
It is a little bit weird. This idea is not 100%.
I know.
I
know that.
There's some holes.
I think that the framing is that he could not get people to just agree to change into like Tim, like, but he could get people who are like willing to like become like animals and stuff.
Right.
You know,
I want like a falcon. Like
a fucking falcon.
That'd be great.
And he needed a lot of volunteers because he needs a lot of data.
Right.
And he needs it quickly.
He needs to figure out what kind of being is stable enough to hold another conscience.
Yeah, and that makes the son. He's either a prime source for data, or maybe even one of the actual people who's possible to upload the consciousness into. Like he finds that he has a good match, and so that that's why Nimbus comes in and says like, we'll take care of your son's medical stuff because this guy pulls some strings, and the father starts getting
suspicious.
Yes.
What if he figures out that if someone's a good match, he can like put them in something that he knows isn't stable, so that they'll go into a coma, and then he would then take that.
The issue is extracting consciousness from an already living thing.
Exactly.
That's
so he causes him to go crazy, something to happen, gets him in a comatose state, and then can...
Okay, Linnea said something that might actually be something.
Never happened.
No, I'm not saying this is... I'm just saying that...
Carry on.
So to be able to transfer consciousness into a body, the other consciousness has to leave.
Right.
The body has to still be alive when it's happening.
Right.
But if the body is put into a host that isn't suitable, it terminates.
The body terminates. So
so he needs to change someone into... He needs to change someone's mind so that he can put him into an animal, because he needs it to be able to transfer to somewhere and not terminate the body, so he can transfer another consciousness in. So it's not as much that he needs one that's a match for his brother, because he can put his brother's...
You just need a willing host to leave?
Kind of.
So he'd only need to have it work once?
And that's why he was able to let his brother join his consciousness, is because he
was willing.
He was willing to share the body.
So we're introducing a theory of will here. And so if you make somebody want to be a falcon enough, you can convince them to leave.
Yeah.
Into, let's say, falcon.
So then, what's the issue past that? You know, because he would only have to do it once to save his brother.
But that's the thing, like, people, even though people start acting like animals, it's not working quite yet. He's still having to do trial after trial.
I got you.
What he really, really wants, then, is to upload his brother's consciousness into this server.
Well, I like the idea that maybe the brother and him can exist in the Matrix in two forms.
Right.
But outside, they have to be one form.
Okay.
Like, when he puts on the helmet, like, he has two avatars.
So, basically... That makes sense, and so he's trying to expand
the use of the Matrix.
Yeah.
And why? And so that would also need some kind of user base to keep it running, probably.
Yeah, because it's expensive.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very expensive to run but he can't explain why he needs it because what he did was illegal, putting his brother into his consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that's why some people are just normal and just use it.
Right.
And other people are in the system as these animals.
These dualistic creatures.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I think the story's said.
Okay, so let's finish up with a summary then, because we're about at time anyway.
Correct.
So, mad scientist named...
Vladimir.
No.
No.
I'm sorry, I was just thinking of Vladimir, okay? He's right above us.
I don't hate Vlad.
Okay.
But
his name is Dr. Roberts.
Vlad and Delav.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
The names aren't important. The names aren't important, but...
Can we just call him Dr. Roberts and his brother?
What's another
Ben?
meteorological term?
Haley's Comet. Okay, so
Haley.
Dr. Haley.
Dr. Haley.
And Dr. Bailey.
Comet.
I know. And Dr.
So
Meteorite.
Doctors Haley and Comet.
Horrible.
Even though they have the same last name because they're related.
They are twins who work together as scientists. They work in the field of brain studies, and they're brilliant in their field, the top of their industry. They form this company, Nimbus, and they get going. One of the twins gets sick, starts to die, and in a haste to save them, the other brother downloads their consciousness into their own body.
Into himself.
Yeah, into himself.
Right.
So they start existing. And it seems like we succeeded, but we have to keep it under wraps because...
It's not proper.
Yeah.
And they're both dying because of it.
Now
It didn't fully work.
They find out pretty quickly that they're degenerating, their brains are, so they have...
to run unethical tests on real people who are users of Nimbus.
Yeah, and so they find that he builds this space for him and his brother to be able to be separate because that slows down the degeneration if they're not physically, not sharing. So
it's expensive.
It is expensive.
And so to cover the cost, he creates this online world that can be funded through subscriptions and all this other stuff.
Through users.
Yeah, and make this huge program, but also it lets them live a relatively normal life at the same. Like it has this other kind of weird side thing where now they can exist in this world with shops and other people and interact.
Well, it becomes a thing in itself.
Yeah.
So like that's how like some of the economy starts, but like a lot of like what people are paying for is like the chance to become like these animals.
Other things to experience
in this world, and that's why it's so rushed, and that's why there's so many problems with it in physical reality.
Because the users are really, really into it, and the programming is not up to speed.
But yeah, in order for that to work, there's some other degenerative brain disease, I guess.
Well, I think
basically there's consequences.
I think the animal thing arises from the fact that they figure out that they can. This is very dense, but they can take over a body if they can get someone to willingly leave it.
Right.
But to get someone to willingly leave, no one, a human being can't willingly do it because a human being can't. In this theory or whatever, a human being can't give up their will to live.
Right.
But he finds he can do it with animals because animals are dumb.
Of course.
And And if he can change the mind structure of a human to that of an animal,
right.
he can almost trick them into leaving the body so he can download his brother.
Ooh.
But he hasn't been able to fully do it yet.
Right.
There's so many issues
with
the physical body
once
that's happened with someone's conscience.
Yes.
So basically you're taking civilians.
Well, beyond that, but I think he doesn't quite get it there. Like he gets it to like the 97-yard line, but he's still failing these tests. And this guy's son gets involved, and he's this private investigator who's like thinks he's like a noir private eye.
Right. Venetian blind.
That's his avatar. That's
his son. Something happens. His son's one of the people who gets picked, who gets the honor of having this done, like because it's a big deal. I think maybe it's not everyone, but it's a lot of people. Like you can win it almost like a drawing or a raffle or something like that. And his son happens. Nimbus takes care of him, but he starts noticing weird thing, traces it, and finds out all of this stuff.
Right.
I mean, we didn't get too much into the world, unfortunately, but I think this is an interesting story, an interesting concept.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to re-listen to it to make it all continuous. But I think that was an excellent episode of
Construction.
I know. I mean, you're the one that says the shit.
Yeah. I guess that's our wrap up.
Yeah. I think that's a wrap up, right?
That's something maybe. I like this idea. I honestly wish we would have had some more time. Because now that I feel like it was funny because we stumbled on the idea so early on, but it took us so long
to figure out what the fuck it is.
To get the basics. Like, we got it was like we got the bones immediately, but I feel like we've only done we barely got any skin.
We got some tendons.
Yeah.
We got some tendons.
We focused a lot on the motives and the backstory for each of these characters, which I think fills in a lot of the story for us. Like, we don't need each individual narrative.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing. This is so free that you could really do anything. Like, you could have fantasy and you could have sci-fi and all this other stuff coming. I think it really does end up getting very similar to Ready Player One, which is like.
So this might be something that we do an episode 2 of, potentially. Not definitively, but potentially.
I don't know if we could get maybe. Well,
I feel like we've built it. I feel like it's built.
It's been built.
We've got the shell.
The barn is there.
It can be decorated later if we want to, but it's there. We've got it. We've got our.
Right.
If
what were all the words exactly again?
If we get 2 million likes on our video. I mean, maybe down the line we will do, because I mean, I would also love to explore Son of the Sun.
Right.
Maybe further on down the line we can explore these ideas more. But for now, that's going to be the end of, I guess we'll call this Nimbus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nimbus.
Nimbus, the flat Earth story.
Noir. Venetian blinds.
Nimbus, the reality disc.
Venetian blinds.
Only specific.
Yeah, this has been the Co-Struction Podcast. I'm Anthony Wilkinson.
I'm Josh Robbins.
Linnea Anderson.
Right, and
that's a wrap.
Yeah, do we have a catchphrase that I said last time?
We should do it.
Happy building.